What's up, Mom?
Everything's good, baby. I'm here with you.
Yeah.
I love you.
Love you.
Diddy and his mother, Janice Combs, are now at the center of a firestorm as new footage and courtroom revelations surface, painting a disturbing picture of their relationship and possible involvement in his ongoing legal troubles. Word on the street is that the judge presiding over Diddy's case was visibly shocked after viewing footage allegedly connecting Janice Combs to the infamous freak-off parties that have become central to the case. The entire courtroom was reportedly stunned when the footage dropped, shifting public and legal attention sharply onto Diddy's mother. This development isn't entirely out of nowhere. Questions about Diddy and his mother's unusually close relationship had been circulating for years. Back in 2022, a video made the rounds on the internet showing Diddy kissing Janice Combs on the lips while the two were receiving IV drips together. He called her Mom Dukes, bragged about taking her to strip clubs, and made suggestive comments about her being single, all of which resurfaced in September 2024 after his arrest, igniting a storm of criticism online. Social media and news outlets labeled the video disturbing, especially given the
Mom's gorgeous. Let me introduce you to my mom, called Mom Dukes. She's getting a drip with me. She's hydrated.
serious nature of the charges Diddy was facing. Viewers were uncomfortable with the kiss, the strip club talk, and the overall dynamic between the two. Adding more fuel to the fire, a documentary titled Diddy, The Making of a Bad Boy, released on Peacock in January 2025, featured testimony from Tim Dog Patterson, a childhood friend of Diddy. Patterson claimed that Janice Combs used to throw wild parties at their Mount Vernon home when Diddy was growing up, parties that included drugs, alcohol, and sexually charged encounters. He described walking into rooms with naked couples and said that the environment was chaotic, with guests ranging from addicts to hustlers. Patterson suggested that these experiences likely desensitized young Diddy, possibly shaping the attitudes and behaviors that are now under legal scrutiny. Despite these allegations, Janice Combs has publicly defended her son. In October 2024, following his arrest, she issued a statement through her attorney, Natalie G. Figures, denouncing the allegations as a public lynching. She insisted that Diddy was being mischaracterized by lies, not judged on facts, and that he had every right to defend his name in court. She described herself as heartbroken by the situation, but stood by her son, asserting that while he was imperfect, he was not the monster the media portrayed him to be. The judge's reaction to the latest footage, reportedly showing Janice Combs in a compromising context tied to the freak-off parties, marks a significant turn in the trial. Although the exact contents of the footage haven't been leaked, reports suggest it could directly implicate her in the criminal enterprise prosecutors alleged Diddy was running. If true, it would support claims that these parties weren't isolated events, but part of a broader, more organized operation. Janice Combs has also been dealing with legal issues of her own. In February 2024, she was named in a lawsuit filed by Kirk Burroughs, co-founder of Bad Boy Records. Burroughs alleges that Diddy coerced him into signing away his 25% ownership of the company back in 1996, and that Janice helped cover it up. This case has further fueled speculation that she was more deeply involved in Diddy's business affairs and possibly his darker dealings than the public previously realized. As for Diddy's sons, while they haven't been directly linked to the freak-off parties, disturbing reports continue to surface. In 2022, his son Christian King Combs was accused in a lawsuit of sexually assaulting a woman aboard a yacht chartered by Diddy. The suit described a hedonistic environment with drugs and questionable staff, echoing the same vibes found in the testimonies about Diddy's infamous gatherings. Though no official connection to the freak-offs has been made, the allegations against Christian suggest troubling patterns within the family. More red flags have emerged from Diddy's past. Interviews. In a resurfaced 2002 clip, Diddy made questionable remarks about the way he treated women at his events, including comments about locking doors during parties, remarks that sound far more ominous now in light of the current allegations. As of May 20th, 2025, the trial is in its second week. Diddy faces serious charges in New York, including racketeering, conspiracy, and trafficking. Prosecutors allege that he orchestrated a sprawling criminal enterprise over the past 20 years, with the freak-offs serving as central events where drug use, coercion, and the presence of male escorts in costume were routine. Testimony has described the use of drugs like ecstasy and ketamine, and these parties are being portrayed as carefully constructed spectacles designed to manipulate and control. With new footage implicating his mother and the shadows of legal trouble touching other members of his family, this trial could reshape the entire legacy of the Combs family. If even part of these allegations are proven true,
so if you don't have what they need, they're gonna leave.
Right.
Gotta keep them there.
Right.
You need locks on the doors.
Okay, this is sounding kind of dangerous now.
Cassandra Cassie Ventura's testimony has emerged as one of the most damning elements of the trial, as she spent nearly 20 hours over 4 days, May 12 to 15, 2025, detailing years of physical abuse, emotional manipulation, and forced participation in what prosecutors call freak-offs. Her account is supported by compelling evidence, including photographs showing bruises and surveillance footage from a 2016 hotel incident. Several witnesses have since corroborated her claims, painting a deeply disturbing portrait of control and violence within Diddy's inner circle. Dawn Richard, a former member of Danity Kane, testified that she personally witnessed Diddy assault Cassie. She recalled a 2009 incident where Diddy punched Cassie in the face with a closed fist before a music festival. She also described a dinner attended by celebrities such as Usher, Neo, and Jimmy Iovine, during which Diddy allegedly punched Cassie in the stomach. Carrie Morgan, Cassie's former best friend, testified that she had witnessed multiple assaults, including Diddy dragging Cassie by her hair in Jamaica and hitting her in their Hollywood Hills home. One particularly disturbing incident in 2018 involved Diddy choking Cassie and beating her with a wooden coat hanger, which ultimately ended her friendship with Morgan. David James, a former personal assistant to Diddy, testified beginning May 19, 2025. He described his experience working closely with Diddy, traveling globally as part of the Bad Boy entertainment operation. He stated that Cassie had confided in him about the extreme control Diddy exercised over her life and career. Testimony from male escorts involved in the so-called freak-offs further supports these allegations. One such witness, Daniel Phillips, testified that he was hired under the pretense of performing at a bachelorette party at the Gramercy Park Hotel in New York, only to find himself part of a highly orchestrated and abusive environment. He recounted that Cassie paid him and gave tips after these encounters, but also witnessed Diddy physically assaulting her, once grabbing her by the hair and dragging her into a room for not responding quickly enough to his call. Phillips described Diddy giving explicit instructions.
Part of the testimony, Diddy's daughters left the courtroom. Yes, his children were there today, as well as his mother. This man also recalled Diddy giving him specific directions for how he should be having with Cassie, including instructions to apply more baby oil onto their...
including the use of baby oil and scripted role-playing, which revealed a chilling level of control. Phillips said he didn't report the abuse out of fear, stating, "My thought was this was someone with unlimited power, and chances are, even if I did go to the police, I might still end up losing my life." These freak-offs, based on consistent court testimony, weren't casual parties, but rather forced, drug-fueled performances that often spanned days. Witnesses say Diddy would supply MDMA and other substances to keep participants awake and compliant. The prosecution revealed that these events involved detailed preparation, with staff members tasked with providing fresh linens, drugs, lubricant, and cash. This level of organization suggests a systematic operation rather than isolated incidents. Further testimony came from Jonathan Audi, a former adult film actor who alleged he was used as a sex slave by Diddy. Audi claimed to have engaged in sexual encounters with Diddy and Cassie, stating he contracted herpes and was pressured into signing a $5 million NDA in 2014 to keep quiet. While Audi's behavior during a 2018 arrest has cast some doubt on his credibility, the emergence of a photo of the NDA, dated July 9, 2014, with Diddy's signature, gives weight to at least part of his story. Prosecutors have also argued that Diddy went to great lengths to cover up his crimes. In one instance, they claim he paid a hotel security guard $100,000 in cash to obtain footage of him.
The prosecutor says that the freak-offs often lasted multiple days and with multiple escorts, and sometimes forced them to travel out of state. The prosecutor says that Diddy directed everything and frequently had staff on hand to replenish lubricant, linens, and drugs for the women and himself, as well as cash for the escorts. And speaking of cash, prosecutors argue that Diddy paid a hotel security guard $100,000 in cash in exchange for that hotel security camera footage.
Assaulting Cassie. Diddy's legal team maintains that this was not an act of obstruction, but an effort.
Phillips says that he was hired under the pretense of stripping for women at a bachelorette party at the Gramercy Park Hotel in New York City. He testified that Cassie gave him a few $1,000s and would tip him at the end of the encounter. He said that after leaving, Ventura texted him to return for more with her, while Combs would pleasure himself in the corner.
Effort to shield both parties from damaging publicity, a defense that has been met with widespread skepticism. Allegations have also extended to Diddy's family. His son, Christian King Combs, is named in a 2022 lawsuit accusing him of sexually assaulting a yacht steward, Grace Marseille, during a trip allegedly marketed as a family-friendly excursion. The complaint describes a party scene involving drugs and alcohol. Christian is accused of pressuring Marseille to consume tequila, possibly laced, and of attempting to force oral sex. The incident was allegedly recorded by Rodney Lil Rod Jones, who has also filed his own trafficking suit against Diddy. Christian's legal team has labeled the claims lewd and meritless and plans to file a motion to dismiss. While there's no direct evidence connecting Diddy's sons to the freak-offs, the environment described in the lawsuits shares disturbing similarities. Another son, Justin Combs, was detained during a raid on Diddy's Los Angeles property, but was released without any charges or direct ties to the freak-offs. Still, these developments raise unsettling questions about how much Diddy's family members knew, or may have been involved in, his alleged criminal enterprise. What intensifies the scrutiny is the newly surfaced footage reportedly implicating Diddy's mother, Janice Combs. While the exact content hasn't been made public, sources say the judge's reaction to it was significant, and it may suggest that Janice played a role in facilitating or being present during these freak-off events. If proven, this could shift the entire case, framing the enterprise as a family-involved operation rather than one orchestrated by Diddy alone. The trial continues to unfold, but the testimony so far paints a deeply disturbing picture of coercion, abuse, and manipulation involving not just Diddy, but potentially multiple members of his inner circle and family. The footage allegedly showing Janice Combs's involvement in the freak-offs could be a pivotal piece of evidence. If it indeed captures her participating in or facilitating these events, it would significantly bolster the prosecution's argument that what occurred wasn't random or isolated, but instead part of a calculated and organized pattern of abuse within Diddy's inner circle. Janice has long been a key figure in Diddy's life, raising him in Harlem and Mount Vernon after his father was killed in 1972. She worked as both a model and teacher's assistant to support him, and throughout his rise in the music industry, she remained a prominent figure by his side, regularly appearing at public events. Her involvement in Diddy's business ventures appears to go beyond moral support. As highlighted earlier, she is currently facing a lawsuit from Kirk Burrow, co-founder of Bad Boy Records, who alleges that she unlawfully took control of his 25% stake in the company. This lawsuit suggests that Janice may have had more influence and decision-making power in her son's business operations than previously acknowledged. The timing of her public defense of Diddy, made in October 2024 through her attorney, also raises questions. That statement was issued shortly after Diddy's arrest, but before many of the more graphic and specific details about the freak-offs were made public. Now, in light of the witness testimonies and possible footage tying her to these events, her blanket support is being viewed with greater skepticism. One of the most disturbing aspects of the case is the power dynamic within Diddy's circle, which multiple witnesses have described in court. Testimony has painted Diddy as a figure who used his wealth, fame, and influence to control and manipulate those around him, creating an environment in which victims felt powerless and trapped. If Janice was aware of or complicit in this behavior, it would add another deeply troubling layer to an already dark narrative. Testimonies have also explored the complexity of Diddy and Cassie Ventura's relationship, which some, including bad boy artist Chopper, have characterized as mutually toxic. Chopper claimed that Cassie physically assaulted Diddy as well, saying, "Y'all whoop each other. I haven't seen her whoop his kinda just like that, so I don't know how to pinpoint that." While such statements introduce the idea of mutual aggression, they do not undercut the core of the prosecution's case, which is focused not on isolated instances of violence, but on a long-term pattern of coercion, exploitation, and abuse. Legally, the stakes are extremely high. Diddy is facing charges that include racketeering, conspiracy, trafficking, and transporting individuals across state lines for purposes of prostitution. These charges fall under the Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act, RICO, a law traditionally used to prosecute organized crime. To secure a conviction, the prosecution must prove that Diddy led a criminal enterprise that used force, fraud, or coercion to exploit others. If the alleged footage involving Janice Combs is admitted into evidence and supports the testimonies already provided by witnesses like Dawn Richard, Carrie Morgan, and David James, it could strengthen the case by demonstrating a pattern of abuse that extended beyond Diddy himself. It would help establish that this was not merely about individual misconduct, but about a coordinated and sustained criminal operation. Diddy's defense, led by attorney Mark Agnifilo, has taken several approaches to counter the prosecution's case. One key argument has been that Diddy's lifestyle, including relationships involving multiple partners and sex workers, was consensual and not criminal. Agnifilo has claimed that this kind of behavior was normalized within certain social circles. While Judge Arun Subramanian allowed the defense to present this argument, he ruled that they could not cite other celebrities who may engage in similar behaviors, limiting the scope of this line of reasoning. Another element of the defense strategy has been to suggest that the violence in Diddy's relationship with Cassie was mutual. They've argued that both parties were physically abusive and that some of the incidents may have been part of consensual, though unconventional, behavior. Legal experts have challenged this argument, noting that mutual abuse is not a recognized legal defense. Abuse, by its definition, involves a power imbalance and a pattern of control, something that is not negated by instances of reciprocal violence. Legal analysts, including Laurie Levinson of Loyola Marymount University and author Bev Gooden, have emphasized that mutual violence doesn't undercut a pattern of coercive control, which is central to abuse cases. In a broader strategy, the defense has worked to humanize Diddy, portraying him as someone with good intentions who simply lived an alternative lifestyle, rather than as the orchestrator of a criminal enterprise. This approach echoes Agnifilo's previous defense of NXIVM cult leader Keith Raniere, where he argued that Raniere's actions were motivated by belief systems rather than malice. The defense has also tried to challenge the credibility.
This lawsuit is crazy, man. She alleges that, Diddy, he made her hire and house with male prostitutes while he recorded it. And
Lights, camera, action. Because she wasn't just hiring it for her. Don't get that effed up, Art. If you think that she was just hiring those male prostitutes for herself,
ability and relevance of key evidence. For example, they have pushed back on the 2016 hotel.
I used to wait outside of Turkish baths for them. You know what they do in the Turkish baths?
No, I don't.
Oh, you don't? Okay. That's where a lot of gay men meet, and they all take hot baths together. To each his own, though, bruh. But that's a lot of that these guys get into when they start having certain meetings with certain people, and they meet them at the Turkish bath, and they do their meetings, and they meet their people in those type of situations where they're
video showing Diddy allegedly assaulting Cassie, arguing that it was taken out of context and that Diddy was trying to protect both parties from bad publicity, not cover up a crime. However, given the broader context of abuse, trafficking, and coercion outlined by the prosecution, this explanation has not gained much traction. As more witnesses testify and evidence continues to unfold, including the potential bombshell footage involving Janice Combs, the trial seems poised to expose deeper layers of alleged criminal behavior, not just by Diddy, but possibly by those closest to him. If the prosecution succeeds in showing that multiple people within Diddy's circle were aware of or participated in these acts, it could transform the case from one of celebrity misconduct to a far-reaching criminal conspiracy. Cassie Ventura's credibility has become a central point in Diddy's defense strategy. The defense claims the video evidence showing an alleged assault on Cassie was manipulated, sped up, and presented out of sequence to misrepresent the events. To support this, they plan to call 2 expert witnesses who will testify about the video's authenticity. Additionally, Diddy's legal team is pointing to previous statements made by alleged victims in which they described their interactions, with Diddy as consensual. By doing so, the defense aims to challenge the prosecution's narrative of coercion and forced participation in what are being called freak-off parties. Another element of their strategy is to call out the prosecution's conduct during jury selection. Diddy's lawyers have accused prosecutors of being biased against black jurors, suggesting that this could compromise the fairness of the trial. This move may be part of a broader effort to frame Diddy's situation as not just legal, but also moral and social, potentially resonating with jurors who are sensitive to perceived injustice in the judicial system. However, the defense's narrative faces a significant threat from the alleged new footage involving Janice Combs. If the video truly shows her participating in or facilitating the freak-offs, it could deeply undermine the argument that these were consensual, adult activities. It might also implicate Janice directly in the alleged criminal enterprise, expanding the scope of the case and shifting public perception further. Although Janice Combs has not been charged with any crimes related to the alleged events, her legal troubles continue. She's currently being sued by Kirk Burroughs, a co-founder of Bad Boy Records, who accuses her of unlawfully taking control of his 25% ownership stake. This lawsuit further fuels speculation that Janice played a larger, possibly more integral, role in Diddy's business and possibly personal affairs than previously known. The public response to these developments has been intense. The idea that Diddy's mother might have been involved in or knowingly allowed such behavior has shocked and outraged many. Social media has erupted with disbelief, condemnation, and disturbing questions about how a parent could be complicit in or tolerant of such conduct. Media outlets globally are covering every twist and turn of the trial, and the possibility of Janice's involvement has only intensified this coverage. With Diddy's fame and the serious nature of the allegations, the trial has quickly become one of the most closely watched legal dramas in recent memory. As the proceedings continue, the judge's reported reaction to the footage involving Janice Combs suggests it may carry significant weight in the courtroom. If the footage confirms the prosecution's portrayal,
Legal drama involving rapper and music mogul Sean Diddy Combs. A new lawsuit filed by a producer and videographer.
Sean Diddy Combs is facing new allegations of sexual assault. This time, a woman claims the rapper drugged and sexually assaulted her in New York City back in 19...
of Diddy's inner circle, including family, as complicit in organized abuse, it could provide damning support for the racketeering and trafficking charges he faces. In the broader legal landscape,
these Homeland Security officers were looking for evidence of crimes. So, for example, P. Diddy has been accused of sex trafficking. He's also been accused of non-consensual...
Diddy is now dealing with not just one case, but 5 lawsuits in the span of 5 months. This legal storm is compounded by 2 high-profile federal raids that have left his reputation in a tailspin. The raids, one in Los Angeles and the other in Miami, were conducted by Homeland Security Investigations, HSI, from New York, with assistance from HSI teams in LA and Miami and local police. The raid on Diddy's Los Angeles home looked like a movie scene. Streets were blocked, helicopters circled, and armed agents flooded the area. The level of coordination and force used by law enforcement underscored the severity of the allegations, which include sex trafficking. TMZ reported the presence of multiple law enforcement agencies and revealed that Diddy's sons, Justin and King Combs, were seen in handcuffs near the scene, although no charges have been confirmed against them. The situation escalated when additional footage showed federal agents arriving by boat to Diddy's waterfront property, turning what already looked like a blockbuster movie into something even more surreal. People were questioned at the scene, and the identities of those involved have not been publicly disclosed. Simultaneously, Diddy's Miami home was also raided in an equally dramatic fashion. Federal agents with guns drawn scoured the property for evidence. It has been confirmed that Diddy was in the Miami area during these raids, and he was later questioned by federal agents at the Miami Opa-locka Executive Airport. Sources have said his phones were confiscated, though the exact number of devices is unclear. What they may contain remains speculative, but investigators are clearly looking for digital evidence that could support the trafficking allegations. The raids and their implications are vast. They show that federal authorities are taking the allegations seriously enough to mobilize across multiple states with heavy manpower. The synchronized timing and scale of these actions suggest that law enforcement sees this as a major criminal investigation, not just a celebrity scandal. Public curiosity has exploded. During the Los Angeles raid, a sightseeing bus even passed by the mansion, with tourists snapping pictures and asking reporters for updates. Nearby residents described regular late-night parties at Diddy's house, with luxury SUVs dropping off young women in the early hours. One neighbor described seeing guests arrive as late as 3 a.m., suggesting these events weren't occasional, but a pattern of behavior. As the trial and investigations unfold, the spotlight remains firmly on Diddy. From the sexual assault lawsuit, filed by R&B singer Cassie Ventura, to the shocking federal raids and the newly emerging claims about Janice Combs, the situation has turned into a legal and media firestorm. Whether or not Diddy can defend himself successfully against the mounting, evidence remains to be seen, but the public, media, and legal world are watching every moment unfold.